Week 13. Not full of intrigue or excitement. Um, Maybe some heartache. But
Mm,
some interesting tidbits here. But week 13, what can I say? We're getting closer to the end and then the beginning of Armageddon, I guess. I don't know, man. It was an interesting week. I don't know. I first like to say I'm sorry, sir, and I will let you do what you do. I don't know what to say, sir. I'm sorry.
Armageddon's a good word for it, Bucks McGee. And yeah, a lot of games this week that kind of went ways we figured they would and aren't really worth talking about, but one that I wasn't planning on having this conversation about, and I hope you will join me in bidding the Indianapolis Colts playoff successes a farewell.
We buried Houston. We thought Houston was done, and lo and behold, they're 7-5 and alive and kicking.
Yeah.
Um, that defense is continued to be, they have staked their own claim that they feel they're the best defense in the NFL. Some people might think Denver's is not really, not counting tonight's game. I guess it's a little bit of an interesting game, but see, it looks like we had a CJ Stroud sighting, like he was legit tonight. The run game was somewhat solid. I don't know. I don't think you guys are dead in the water, but if Houston has all of a sudden caught some fire um, with that loss, your favorite team here in Florida has overtaken the lead in that division. I know the
Oh yeah.
Jaguars,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
but you know Houston's going to be a team to reckon with, at least defensively. Sometimes you got to hit the pot, you hit potholes, and I think the Colts had they've been flying high pretty much all year, so it's not the time you really want to hit some turbulence, but maybe this is just a small bump in the road. you
Yeah.
know
I don't love seeding first place the Jaguars, especially since next week our game is to head down to the House of Horrors and nuclear test site that is TIAA Bank Field.
Man, I the hate and anger in your voice as you talk about the Jaguars is just something special. I don't know. I Yeah, I thought I was bad with the Saints and all, but no, man, you take it to a level of unknownness, man, of anger and
Oh,
hostility. But this is the game right here. You I don't want to say it's a must win. I hate saying that, but we are, what, 5 weeks left, so we are starting for a lot of teams. The must win scenarios are beginning, and I don't know if it's a must win, but I think it's as close as it's going to get as of right now for you guys. Like, you want to make sure you win the division, you've got to have this game. I think losing it does put a serious dent in that shot. The wild card in the AFC is wild right now. So I think, just to make sure you solidify things, you want to handle it. And Jacksonville is their Jekyll and Hyde. Like, they played decently today. They can end up putting a stinker up next week. So it's going to be fun to see how this pans out.
not with my luck. Not likely with my luck. Anyway,
You got to stay positive, man. Positivity, man. Positivity.
I'd go as far as to say every game remaining on the Colts schedule is a must win. I mean, CJ Stroud, he was a little rusty coming in. I mean, the interception was a bit ugly, but I mean there's still, even with the way that defense played, there's no excuse. There's no excuse for this, because this this division was all but set in stone a few weeks ago, and 3 out of 4 losses, uh, and coupled with the Texans' recent surge, 4 straight wins, whatever it may be, and the Jaguars' inconsistencies, but they've still managed to hang around. To me, this is just inexcusable, and every game from here on out is must win. The Colts cannot afford another loss.
It's no, I understand. I totally get it. Those three, losing, 3 out of 4 definitely, definitely puts a crink in things. But at this point, it's okay. 5 games. I think if you guys go 4 out of 5, I think you guys are solid. But yeah, anything less than that, there could be some concern. But like I said, Jacksonville's been up and down. Houston is, their defense has kept them in all of their games. Davis Mills, got to give him respect. He kept them relevant. So, but don't forget, CJ was so up and down this year. That was almost a continuation of last year. So he comes back, plays solid after a rough start today. If he goes back the other way, they could very well lose 2 out of 3 and play themselves out. So it'll be interesting to see what Houston does with this second life. But at the end of the day, you just gotta, I think the Colts can sit there, look at it, and say, all right, let's figure this out. I wonder if the leg issue with Indiana Jones is more than he's letting on. I don't know. He seemed a little off today with that, but you got to give Houston credit. That defense is ferocious, and they know how to play. They have gotten better and better throughout the year, and they are at least a top 5 defense, no doubt.
Well, and it's a rabbit hole of sorts because despite Jonathan Taylor's history, the Colts have largely avoided the injury bug this year, and Daniel Jones had that I don't want to call it a will he won't he tale of the fibula at the end of the week. But now Sauce Gardner will also miss a couple weeks with a bum hamstring. We only gave up 2 first-round draft picks, and he hasn't been horrible since we've acquired him, but he also hasn't been great either. So it's just like truly a cornucopia of mushroom clouds going on right now.
And no, I get it. You don't your prized, acquisition, out for a couple of weeks with a hamstring, and believe me, living the Mike Evans hamstring fiestas for the last 3 or 4 years, I know how that is. It's next man up, and they played well before they had Sauce. Now they're just gonna have to play well without him. Hopefully he can rest up. You guys can win the next 2 if it's only 2 weeks and he comes back and he's good, and he's solid. You don't want to rush him back. So it's going to be next man up, and just need a little more consistency on the offense. And you guys should be all right.
In light of Mike Evans' teams, now life hasn't been all sunshine and rainbows for your Bucs of late, but I'm sure you didn't exactly expect to sweat one out against the Cardinals, did you?
A win's a win. I'm taking whatever. And the man has returned, Bucky Irving. Amen. Praise the Lord. Oh, my God. You know what? Jacoby Brissett's legit. And I said this, during their run, he's probably the better option at quarterback than Kyler Murray is. They're now officially, eliminated from the playoffs, so they're, probably just gonna I'd let Jacoby finish it off and see what you get, and maybe he becomes the incumbent next year. But he can sling the rock, and they kept it close. But the defense, showed up when it had to. Bucky played well. He played a lot more snaps than I thought he would. And at the end of the day, did enough to win, and that's what you got to do. And that we needed the win. It was desperate, especially with the Panthers all of a sudden, world beaters here in the NFL. So we needed the win. We take it, and now we're starting the easier part of the schedule supposedly, but it's good to get a win, and we'll see what happens next week. But it's just the main thing is, Bucky Irvin's back. Jalen McMillan has gotten clearance, so hopefully he'll start practicing this week. another week or two. Hopefully, Mike Evans returns, so the weapons could be there, and we'll see what happens. We just got to survive.
A clean bill of health that Tampa is oh so desperate to receive.
Oh man, well, I'll take a half a bill of health, man. It's been rough, but Bucky, I'm telling you, man, Bucky Irvin's changes an offense, man. He changes an offense. The man is dynamic and can make moves like no other. So it was good. It was solid. Baker, escaped harm. We'll take it and just keep moving on.
Yeah, and I mean, no, there's really no one that doesn't love a fat man touchdown, and the lack of offensive weapons for Tampa certainly highlights a little trickeration out of the playbook, and Tristan Wirfs being a sudden red zone target.
Dude, man. Sheesh, man. It's a hodgepodge of insanity, I'll tell you. But like you said, once you start getting the weapons back, things start to move a little better. There'll still probably be some timing issues going forward, but as long as everyone's coming back healthy, right now the main villain right now for us is going to be Carolina. They are playing well. I've got to give them credit, and we've got 2 games with them, so we've got to make sure we win at least one of them and win everything else, and we should be all right.
Now, does Bucky's return? I mean, this is a return. This is a return from injury that has been long, long awaited this season. It was like every other week. Bucky, no. Bucky, no. Bucky, no. Um, is the running game squarely just go back to him? Does Rashad White kind of disappear more to the check down back and nothing more? Sean Tucker goes back to kind of obscurity.
I would be honest where I would like, of course, Bucky to be the lead guy, and I like Sean Tucker. I really do. I think when it comes to worth, I think um, White is he's a solid receiving back, but Bucky is slowly showing that he can be a quality receiving back as well. So I think what it's going to be is Bucky the lead guy, you know, White back there for blocking and receiving, and then they'll sprinkle Tucker in. But the way this offense is gone, who knows what they're going to do. But you've got 3 backs that can do a little something of everything. So it's a nice little thing to have. I think they'll try to figure out what this offense will be as the weeks go on once we get some more receivers back. But right now it's going to be Bucky's show, and everybody else is just going to learn their part.
And to your point on Jacoby Brissett, it if nothing else extends out the need for Arizona to go after another quarterback and address some other concerns on the roster, as it seems that the Kyler Murray experiment will come to a conclusion in the offseason.
Like, here's the thing: they have parts on the offense and on the defense. It's not like this team is void of talent. It's just, what are they? They do need to work on the run game. With James Conner gone, he's an older back. So the question is when he returns from injury next year, is he going to be the guy, or are they going to sit there and look at the draft and say, well, if somebody falls to us, are we going to move on? The run game, was good, was solid. It was solid today, but they've been pretty much a pass first offense ever since Jacoby's really taken over the team. So I think it's going to be, they'll finish off with him, running the quarterback position. I think you're going to see a lot more passing out of them. The run game will be complementary, but I think they're going to be a pass heavy team. And then once the offseason hits, they'll really look at things. My opinion, I think they move on from Kyler. I think it's done. And you go with Brissett and see what happens. Maybe a guy falls to you in the draft, depending where you land in the draft, and you take it from there.
James Conner, another student of the J.K. Dobbins 5 games or less path to injury every year.
Jeez. And it's tough because he's an older player. So when he comes back, it's going to be, do they feel he's going to take on that workload, or is he going to start sharing it with maybe a younger guy they pick up? who knows? But for now, they're gonna be throwing the ball all over the yard. They've shown they can do that. So in fantasy, if you've got any Cardinals, you snatch them up, use them because they're gonna be putting up the points that way.
And I didn't think you would be in a position that to be jumping at the bit to talk about the Panthers, yet here we are.
You got to give them respect. Dude, man, they took it to the Rams. I don't get it. I don't get it. Like going into this game, I was like, okay, they'll probably put up a fight, but I figured the Rams would have said, all right, we'll toy around with you or whatever, and then, second half, put them away. But Carolina believes in themselves. You can tell in that game, and especially, interviews afterwards and such, these players believe in themselves. They have this whole us against the world mentality. No one believes in us. We can beat whoever. And they're a dangerous team. They are a dangerous team. That defense played solid today. Really held Stafford in check. Bryce Young playing solid, man. Like we were ready to send this kid off to who knows the Canadian Football League. We had no idea what he was going to do this year, and he's proven it. He's played well now. I don't know if this is what you're going to get from him for the rest of his career, or if this is just an anomaly, and the next year it's going to be the struggle bus again. But for this year, right now, they can run the ball. They play solid defense, and they can throw the ball. So they're a team to worry about. I'm worried about them.
The game started off in fairly familiar waters with Stafford keeping the streak going, finding Devontae Adams again. He found him again later on, and like, oh, here we go. I mean, the streak at that point was 28 touchdown passes without an interception, and then the world turned upside down, and Stafford threw an interception, something that's not been very common of late. And Bryce Young, like you said, Bryce Young was the one throwing dime passes to lead fourth quarter charges in this one.
Yeah, like you said, Stafford, gets a touchdown on the board. It's like, all right, here we go. Here come the points. Next thing you know, throws a pick to Mike Jackson, pick 6, and then, like you said, the world as we know it did not cease to exist. And Carolina bullies the Rams, like literally bullied them. They basically ran the show, and the Rams just looked like deer in headlights. I think they walked in there and kind of thought this was going to be okay. We're riding high. We'll be good. We should be able to handle this team. And Carolina said, no, not so fast. And before you knew it, game over. Carolina's a winner, and the Rams are licking wounds, kind of.
And in a sense,
oh no, and it's a thing where they have to watch it now because the Seahawks looked great this week. Can't forget about them. So I think the Rams kind of have to sit back and say, all right, you know what? We kind of took this game for granted. We got to come out, and we got to come out strong next week.
Yeah, I mean, and in turn, here we are talking about the NFC South, but on the flip side, in the talk of the NFC West, those Seahawks did pitch a shutout against the Vikings, who decided to bench J.J. McCarthy, and somehow Max Brosmer decided to look even worse than J.J. McCarthy. And in interest of recency bias, we just watched the Niners beat those Panthers, and here the Rams are losing to the Panthers. So all of a sudden, this particular loss that the Rams had has a not such a good connotation as the Niners took care of business in the dog pound this week. So all of a sudden, you now have a tiebreaker token that goes in the Niners' favor with common opponents.
I'll leave it to the Niners. I wonder if the Vikings sit there and say, hey, you know what? We had Indiana Jones and Sam Darnold in-house, and this is what we were left with.
Hell, at this point, Kirk Cousins.
Exactly. Yeah, true. Forgot. Yeah. Well, he's kind of licking wounds too there, but he put up a valiant effort. But what would the Vikings be if they had kept Sam Darnold? Like, let's think about it. So it's one of those things where you guys put all your eggs in the JJ basket, and right now it's not looking good. And the way once the season's over, people are going to look at the Vikings and say, yeah, you guys made a mistake. When you had the chance to trade JJ, you should have, because you would have gotten probably a second round for him because he was still an unknown. So you would have fleeced some teams. Some team would have been desperate enough to give you a 2 for him, and you would have had Sam Darnold, and your fortunes probably would have been on the reverse. But that's in hindsight. The Hawks are doing what they do. Their defense is solid. They can score. They're going to be dangerous. Like I said, the Rams are going to have to be careful because if they slip up anymore, the Hawks are going to be there to pick up the mess. So it's going to be interesting how that shakes out.
Yes, and all this tight divisional talk coupled together is just yet another feather in my cap of the WWE script that is the NFL. Because a few weeks ago, there were about half the divisions that were locked up and they were done, and we don't have to talk about them. All of a sudden, a few weeks later, the NFL cannot bear the thought of meaningless games in their league. So, in their sport, rather, I should say. So, all of a sudden now there's divisions that are back put into play, including the NFC East, like we've talked of lately. So now all of a sudden, all these divisions are back on the table.
So basically, we need to get our tinfoil hats and sit here
Yep.
and figure it all out.
Yep.
I'll give you that. That's true. Like literally 3-4 weeks ago, we all were like, all right, this is good. This is good. All right, let's get this playoff wagon started because we figured we knew it all. And now it's interesting. When the Bears are the number 1 seed in the NFC, the world is on, something is wrong in the world.
Yeah.
Much respect to them, but something's not right. Yeah, I don't know, man. It's gonna make, like I said before we went on air, next week's games are insane because a lot of them are really playoff implication games. It's ridiculous what it's going to be. But this week, a lot of teams, kind of handled business. Some teams dropped the ball. Some teams are finally eliminated from playoffs. It's crazy. It's nuts. I don't know. I have no words. I don't know, man.
Bears and Patriots atop the standings, very much 1985.
Yeah, no Steve Grogan this time. It's Drake May, so I don't know. It could go New England's way, but you've got New England sitting on top. You got Kansas City sitting beyond the bottom, looking up, hoping for some kind of move, and they're desperate. Bears on top. The Lions looking kind of grim right now. Cowboys resurgence. It's going to be interesting how this really starts to pan out. So it's going to be one of those things where is it going to be the younger guys coming through and saying, these teams, 20 years ago were relevant and we've brought them back? Or is it teams like the Steelers who, had the division and have just totally fallen off, and at the end of the season, will coaches lose their jobs? They were screaming, fire Mike Tomlin in Pittsburgh today. So I'm excited because this is like the first year where it's like, you don't know. You really don't know, because all the top teams, they're the top this week, and then next time they play, get blown out. So it's like, you can trust the records, but you can't trust the records.
Yeah, not to miss an opportunity to jump on the Chiefs, as much as I don't want to see any more Houston victories. Obviously, we'll all be a little bit of Houston Texans fans next week as they play Kansas City.
El Toro! This could be it, man.
To tie 2 notes you just brought up together, as far as the AFC East and some whispers in the walls of the Steel City. The Steelers seemingly got off to a half decent start here, and then the Bills decided that they wanted to wake up, as they are prone to these slow starts. And I laugh at this only because I feel like Josh Allen is probably has more rushing touchdowns this year than anyone not named Jonathan Taylor at this point.
Dude, I'll tell you this much. Buffalo, the one ugly. This was a game they needed to have. This was literally this game was a must win for both of these teams, and you could tell Buffalo just felt like they just wanted it more. And it wasn't pretty, but they got the job done. Aaron Rodgers looked like a beaten old quarterback who just doesn't have it anymore. Like he just looks like he. And I give the man his respect. He's playing with a busted up wrist on, one wrist, face is busted up, bleeding, but he's out there doing his thing. And then, post game conference, you've got, like guys like TJ Watt and such, like questioning, effort. I think you're going to see a lot of change in Pittsburgh in the offseason. I think this game has really shown the warts on this team, and I don't know if there's any bouncing back. Now, some Steeler fans may say, yeah, this is the game we need, and the next thing you know, they're going to play great next week, and this is going to be the turn, and I don't think they have it in them. Great effort, but I just don't think they have it, and it's time for change there.
And Aaron Rodgers, may have been busted up, and Mason Rudolph comes in for a short stint and looks absolutely horrendous. And Mike Tomlin may have getting the fire whispers going, but he probably told the old man, "All right, get back in. This kid doesn't have it."
He had no. The question was, what was he going to do? Like, do you stick with Rudolph, or if Rodgers can go, you go with him? That's the guy who you guys chased. Like, let's be honest. In the preseason, it was, he held them hostage. There were a couple teams that were interested in Rodgers. They moved on after he was, doing his weird, I don't know, let me figure this out, figure my life out, mumbo jumbo. Giants were one of them. The Giants moved on and went to Russell Wilson, and we saw how that ship sailed. And so the Steelers sat there. The Steelers sat there and waited and waited and waited, and finally Aaron came out to play, and this is what you've got now. And Mason Rudolph was probably like, I don't care about this game. I'm probably leaving after this year anyway, so whatever. Like, let's be real. I thought he probably should have been the guy. They probably wouldn't have. They'd definitely probably be sub 500, but at least, he would have been given a puncher's chance. The Steelers are just, it's done. It's time to look at this team, sell off what you can. Time to move on from Tomlin, and let's just try to rebuild it.
Bucks McGee, times move slower in the Hayabusa hut. You know this.
So slow.
And speaking of things not being pretty, I mean, going into next week, we just watched Baltimore look extremely not pretty, and now we have Pittsburgh here. So this is a game, whereas this game was a who needs this win more. Next week is a game where who doesn't want to lose more.
Yeah, like let's be real. The one team that's been anointed the division for every week, even though they were horrible for the first almost 3/4 of the season, and then you've got the Steelers who held the ship together with tape and such, and now just looks horrible. So it's who do you trust more? That's the question you've got to ask yourself. What team do you actually trust? I don't trust either of them, so it's like. Whatever the score is at the end, that's who I thought was going to win, I guess, because I don't trust either of them.
Who do you trust less, and then pick in the opposite direction?
I guess it's Baltimore. Go Baltimore. Because I don't trust this after today. I think the Steelers were horrible. I trust them less. I guess because of Lamar. Lamar is the only reason I would look to Baltimore. I'll be honest.
And on one hand, we saw what James Cook did in this one to the Steelers defense, and Josh Allen has his own rushing attack as well. And it's like, okay, Ravens have Derrick Henry. This is very good, but we also see them not decide to not give the ball to Derrick Henry. So this big advantage that might go against the Steelers defense they may not even take advantage of.
You know what? That's smart. So basically, you're saying the Steelers could steal one. All right, I like it. That's how it happens. Geriatric Rodgers somehow throws a 10-yard pass to, their 350-pound tight end who looked unreal today in this game. It was like they just threw him the ball and he just ran down the field. It reminds me of those days when we'd play touch football and our friend there would take the ball and just run down the middle of the field and no one would want to touch him because he was quite sweaty.
Sweaty.
But that's what this guy was. 6'7", Washington, and I don't know why they don't use him more. Like, he seems like he's got talent. He seems legit as a tight end. Get him the ball. I don't know, but the Steelers do what the Steelers do. They've got to figure it out. This game probably is a must win. Something, if you want any sniff of the playoffs, either team, they've got to win it.
I have no bearing whatsoever on next week's game. All I know is whoever does win, I guarantee we will be equally unimpressed by whichever one is standing at the end.
We'll probably be like, yeah, I guess you lucked out. Yeah. Oh, this is going to be a good one.
Yeah. All right, Bucks McGee, to round out the show, we talk about how the Panthers are making you sweat a little bit, but one thing that does make you smile, in not a full extra point segment, but a little extra point segment, you've got to be smiling over the Dolphins trucking the New Orleans Saints and the Atlanta Falcons falling to the Jets.
I first want to give my respect to Nick Folk. What a leg, man. What a leg. 56 yards of greatness right there, man. I've never seen a team with such talent just blow it all away like the Atlanta Falcons. Unbelievable.
It's ironic that as much as you can enjoy the Falcons' demise here, it's actually a little bit of hilarity, the fact that yet again the Jets just continue to pick the wrong time of the season to start winning games.
Like, seriously, like, they're just like, you know what? We don't need to win divisional games or anything like that. Oh, the Falcons are coming. Let's pull off a great one. And lo and behold, Tyrod Taylor played great. Their defense played well enough to win. And like I said, they put Nick Folk in a position to kick a 56-yarder. I thought his leg was going to snap off. That man seems to be older than dirt, but hey, go ahead, Jets. You enjoy it. You enjoy that win. Miami, gosh, that was just some awful football. That was awful football. I have no idea. The Saints, well, Kellen Moore wanted to be a head coach, and there you go. I hope you enjoy this. I think you're just seeing more and more how the Saints are going to have to really strip this down and just, like another team, strip it down and rebuild it. You keep the days of just throwing, Band-Aids on this team and big contracts and pushing it off has caught up to them. They have really pretty much both sides of the ball have massive holes in them. Your quarterback situation's a mess. Alvin Kamara, I don't even know if he's going to come back next year. I think he's probably had his time and wants to move on. So, but hey, go ahead, Tua. Deliver me a victory. I appreciate you. We'll have to take you out in a couple weeks, but I thank you nonetheless.
Sadly, Kellen Moore can't even bank on the number one draft pick because a team that does know how to lose games is the Tennessee Titans, and they continue to do that. So the Saints can't even rely on this awful season at least being the victory of the number one draft pick.
No, they just can't buy a win, I guess. Yep, the Titans just know how to do it and do it well. Yeah, like I said, the Saints are just going to fall apart. They're probably going to end up with a top 5 pick. It should be decent, be solid. But the question is where are you going to waste that pick on? Like, you've got so many holes. I guess quarterback is what you're going to have to go with. But then what you have around that quarterback is pretty much nil. I don't think you've got much money to spend. So you're just going to have to go with what you got. Atlanta needs to just kick Raheem Morris to the curb and figure out your life.
Well, to rub salt in the wounds, the Falcons are a team that will not have the opportunity to waste the top 5 draft pick because this loss and the continuing snowball down the hill only means the Los Angeles Rams get that much, much higher draft pick. Not enough to have the number 1 seed in the NFC. The Falcons got to say, here you go. Have the fruits of our dislabor, if that's the word.
Dislabor. Yeah, I hope that trade works out for you, because right now the Rams are like, thank you. Yeah, again, Atlanta, all this talent, can't figure it out. If Kyle Pitts was smart, he'd leave there after this year, go to a team that's actually going to use his talents and has a solid situation. Raheem Morris, I just don't think he's the guy for them. I don't know what they're going to do. The quarterback situation, I think you kind of have to question a little. If Penix comes back next year, which he will, but if he gets hurt again, who's your guy? Definitely isn't Kirk Cousins. So quarterback is now a question for this team, and for all the promise they had, they're all a bunch of questions now.
Well, Bucks, my team seems to have more problems. Your team's problems seem to be at least have a bright side on the end of the tunnel. Sir, take us off there with your final thoughts as you enjoy some NFC South bottom dweller losses from this week 13.
Oh, man. Victory Monday. It feels like it's been so long. Oh, my Lord. But thank God. I'll tell you, man, this game, I love this game with all my heart, but this game ages you like nobody's business, man. It ages you. To all my Bucs fans, amen. Bucky's back. Let's roll with it. Rams fans, got a little cocky. You gotta respect Carolina, man. They're a real deal. Carolina fans, I respect you. You scare me. I'll be honest. They're the real deal. The AFC South is going to be, it looks like, could be the most interesting race going down the stretch. I'm excited to see that and how that pans out. And I've said this before, and I'll say it again. Jets. Jets. Nick Folk, all the way, baby.